I will basically tell you about my experience and my as to how I joined the army. I belong to Pune, and my father was a scientist with the DRDO, that is the Defense Research Development Organization, and he was a scientist E in the Institute of Armament Technology, which is on the other bank of Khadagwasla Lake. तो उस तट पे है IAT इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ आर्मर टेक्नोलॉजी और इस तट पे है नेशनल डिफेंस एकेडमी. So whenever I used to go to IIT, I used to always go via National Defense Academy, and that left an indelible mark on my mind. That was one part. Second part was I stay in a colony, or I used to stay in a colony where everyone was considered, or everyone believed that we were a nationalist. So every evening after the school got over, between 6:30 to 7:38, we used to go to RSS Shakha, that is Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh ka Shakha, and that is where I believe the nationalism, the nationalist spirit and the discipline came into me, which then later on kind of got converted to me joining the armed forces. So in 1984, I joined the National Defense Academy, and after 3 years of training in National Defense Academy, I joined the Indian Military Academy, which is a normal course of thing that happens with the Army Cadet in India. Thereafter, I joined the oldest regiment of our infantry, that is the Madras Regiment. So I had a tenure, or I had a stint of almost 21 and a half years with the infantry, which kind of culminated with the command of a Rashtriya Rifle Unit, which is supposed to be an anti-terrorist outfit in the state of J&K. I commanded 54 Rashtriya Rifles, which is again a Madras organization or a unit. And in 2009, I took a voluntary retirement after a successful tenure and command of this 54 RR, where we had 7 kills. Kills are basically the annihilation of the terrorists, and 5 surrenders of this terrorist or terror-like individuals. So that was a acme to my career, or that was the grand finale to my career, which ended in 2009 after I took a voluntary retirement. So this is so far as my army tenure is concerned, and so how I really joined the armed forces. मैं इसमें पॉलिटिक्स लाना नहीं चाहता हूँ, लेकिन बात अगर कहे जाए या कही जाए, सीधी तरह से कही जाए कि जो भी आरएसएस का अपोज करता है, जो आरएसएस को कहता है कि वो एंटी नेशनल है, वो हिंदू ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, मुझे लगता है वो दे शुड एक्चुअली गो एंड जॉइन द शाखा. वहाँ पे मतलब मैंने जब एनडीए ज्वाइन किया था तब बीजेपी का गवर्नमेंट नहीं था, ना कि किसी और गवर्नमेंट था. मेरा कहने का मतलब उस टाइम पे बीजेपी का गवर्नमेंट नहीं था, उस टाइम पे कांग्रेस का ही गवर्नमेंट था. और अगर हमें ज्वाइन करने दिया गया है तो इसका मतलब ये है कि आरएसएस कोई एंटी नेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन था नहीं. लेकिन मैं उनको फिर दोबारा कहना चाहता हूँ कि भाई आप खुद एक 1.5 महीना जाके देखिए, ना वहाँ पे राम की बात होती है, ना अल्लाह की बात होती है, ना यीशु क्रिस्ट की बात होती है. वहाँ सिर्फ अगर कोई कहानियाँ बताई जाती हैं तो वो हमारे फ्रीडम फाइटर्स की बताई जाती है, हमारे जो पुराने राजा महाराजा थे, जिन्होंने शौर्य से अपनी लड़ाई लड़के मुगलों के खिलाफ हमारी जीत हासिल की है, जैसे राणा संग्राम और हमारे छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज। और इसके साथ साथ कड़ी कवायद, मतलब कवायद इन द सेंस इट इज फिजिकल ट्रेनिंग वो कराई जाती है, जिससे कि आप अपना स्ट्रेंथ बिल्डिंग कर सकते हो, स्टेमिना बिल्ड कर सकते हो। और जिस हिसाब से कार्रवाई होती है वहाँ पे आप देखोगे कि डिसिप्लिन के ऊपर बहुत तवज्जो दिया जाता है। सो डिसिप्लिन इज द बेडरॉक फॉर ऑल द शाखा, and that is exactly what happens in our armed forces also. The discipline is the bedrock, nationalism is the bedrock. So that is why I mentioned that the RSS has built in this kind of things before I actually joined the armed forces. ऐसा है कि ये आज की बात नहीं है. This is not today's situation, or we can't claim it that this has happened only today. This has been happening since 1951. And as I understand this whole thing, China has believed in 2-3 things. आपने कभी सुना है कि there is a concept known as palm and 5 fingers? सुना है आपने? तो as per Sun Tzu, palm is supposed to be pivot, and the 5 fingers are basically Arunachal, then Bhutan, Sikkim, Nepal and Ladakh. तो ये sun Tzu के टाइम से या उनके जो their premier in 1951, they have been propagating this palm and 5 finger thing. So if you think that this is today's war or today's skirmish or today's thing, that is not what it is. The second thing that they are and following is the salami slicing. Salami slicing एक ऐसी चीज, I mean, this is what is the concept, and what they are trying to do is they are trying to grab the piece of real estate in places which they have declared as being disputed. So firstly they will create a dispute like Aksai Chin. They will create a dispute in Arunachal. They will create a dispute in Nepal, Bhutan, Sikkim, and then they start doing the land grab or real estate grab actions. So this action that we are seeing today has been happening with us since 1951, and slowly they have been encroaching into our territory, whether it was in Aksai Chin or Arunachal or Doklam, or whether it is in small pockets in Himachal. So this particular thing that we are talking about is happening for a long time. And the third thing that they have been doing is the pearl of necklace. The pearl of necklace concept is nothing but trying to box India, and they are trying to do this for a pretty long time. I'll just take a minute and I'll get you that thing. What they are trying is to basically encircle us, box us, and to that effect, what they have done is they have occupied Gwadar Fort in Pakistan, then Hambant Tota Fort in Sri Lanka, Chittagong Fort in Bangladesh, Kayuk Fort in Myanmar, and also the Coco Islands. So they are actually, if you see, your entire Indian Ocean region, they are boxed you here. They are trying to box you at the north. So in effect, they are trying to box you everywhere in and around your own territory and your special economic zone. Now that being their main concept of what they want to do with us, the issue actually got into highlight is because of the road which we have constructed. which is known as the DBO road, which goes to that Daulat Beg Oldie. Now that was just a reason. The other main issue or the strategic thing that they have in their mind is that they have to keep us engaged so that our economic development gets time, and their economic development keeps happening. Of course, COVID-19 and the fallout of COVID-19, courtesy it being actually China virus or the Wuhan virus, as the entire world calls it, that has made them now to look for some kind of diversions, especially for their own people as well as for the public at large and the world at large. And I guess this was a godsend opportunity which they got, and they have tried to grab it. डिफेंस मिनिस्टर की विजिट जो हुई है उसके पहले मैं थोड़ा एक डेढ़ हफ्ता पहले जाना चाहूँगा, when actually the Prime Minister went and visited that place. It was actually the Defense Minister who was supposed to go and visit on that day. However, the Prime Minister kind of superseded him and he went himself. And then later on the Defense Minister has moved in. प्राइम मिनिस्टर का विजिट का एक ही what I can say is that what Prime Minister's visit brought in for us as a nation or as the armed forces is concerned is that his visit told the entire world that we are not going to take it lying down. We are just not going to take it lying down, and ईट का जवाब पत्थर से मिलेगा. So what 16 Bihar did is what he kind of, I think, would have told people on the ground that look, I mean, I am not privy to what he would have said, what was discussed and other things, but very subtly he has told everyone that henceforth Chinese will buy it. That was one, so far as militarily things are concerned. And now coming on to the visit of Defense Minister, it is something like, you know, he has boosted the morale of the troops. मैसेजिंग आप छोड़ दीजिए, मैसेजिंग प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने कर दिया, अब उसके ऊपर मैसेजिंग तो कुछ नहीं हो सकता है ना, फॉर द वर्ल्ड लीडर्स, फॉर द वर्ल्ड कम्युनिटी, फॉर द कंट्रीज एट लॉगर हेड विद अस. It was a messaging clear to Pakistan and China, which was done by the Prime Minister. What Defense Minister has done is by being there, and अगर आपने सोशल मीडिया में देखा होगा तो वहाँ पे Defense Minister is standing with the Sikh regiment troops, और वो बोले सोनिहाल सत श्री अकाल का जो जयकारा होता है, that was made to be raised twice. And वो जिस जोश के साथ वो सिख सोल्जर्स ने किया है, that kind of gives a very clear message to everyone around. Every soldier, every officer, every person in the Ministry of Defense means business, and let's be pretty clear and be aware of such things. So I think Defense Minister के साथ साथ उन्होंने there was there was a show of equipment, arms, ammunition. तो सारा वो जो था वो that was to tell China कि look, we are prepared. हमारे paratroopers, our special forces, our mechanized elements, our infantry troops, our artillery, our air defense, even aircraft, even our air force, and to some extent there has been some maneuvering going on in the Indian Ocean. So the entire Indian armed forces are ready and prepared for the eventuality of war. So that is just a that is what you are taking it forward, and defense minister has just done what is the plan of, not plan exactly, but I would say the concept or the way the prime minister thinks about this whole thing is what defense minister has carried it forward. देखिए ऐसा है, let's be very clear, most of these procurements were in the pipeline. अगर आप रफाल की बात कर रहे हो तो they are already in the pipeline. If you are talking about the ALH, they are already in the pipeline. I mean, there are plenty of things which were already in the pipeline. And yesterday there was a presentation by Times Now. अगर आपने देखा होगा तो they have been talking about lot of equipment and munition coming in. So whether it was the Astra missile, the Pinaka rockets, the LCH, then land attack cruise missiles. So the UAVs that we have or we are trying to procure, basically for the surveillance purposes, these have been in pipeline, but now if we are making it, what do you call that, as making it public that we are going in for it, it is mainly for effect, basically to tell people also across that we are prepared, and we are if the time comes for war or for a limited war or a skirmish, these countries from whom we are getting all this ammunition and equipment, they will deliver it to us in a shorter time frame, and that is why even the armed forces have been given the powers of 300 crores for ammunition, for munition and equipment. Now they don't have to get back to the MOD or to Defense Acquisition Committee or anything. They just can go in and purchase the thing off the shelf. I mean, it is not exactly off the shelf, but the fact of the matter is they can purchase it. So all these things are for effect. Yes, they will come at their own time, but it is something for the adversary to note that भाई ये भी चीजें आ सकती है हमारे खिलाफ. And so whether we are prepared or not, we are already prepared. But ये जो नए munition और equipment आ रहे हैं, that will actually help us to beat them at a shorter time frame. कल अगर आप मान लीजिए कि हमें चाइना को डिफीट करने के लिए 15 दिन लगने हैं, I am giving a hypothetical example. With this munition, it will come down to maybe 5 days or 7 days. So that is the correlation to procurement, which is already in the pipeline going through. Only thing is that we are trying to make it faster. That's it. मेरे हिसाब से अगर आप पूछिए तो this India-China standoff is not going to get solved so easily and so fast. मतलब जब जैसे कारगिल में हुआ था, थोड़ी सी छोटी बहुत छोटी तो नहीं थी, but it was a limited offensive, limited war, which got over within 2 months, and that ended with Pakistan is going back, we occupying all those heights, and that ended there. However, with China, it has never been the case. It's a very long drawn process. It is going to be a long drawn process, and hence इसमें negotiations, इसमें diplomacy, इसमें economic sanctions, ये सब चीजें प्ले करेंगे other than military will of course play a major role, but there are a lot of things which are happening uh, uh, which are happening closed doors, and which we are not really aware of, or we are not really required to know about. So there are various countries playing their particular role. The way they are doing it is left best left to them and our strategic planners or our NSA and uh, that particular level people. But what I understand here is that this is going to be a long haul. This is going to be a long drawn affair, and hence अगर आप सोच रहे हो कि ये जो हम munition and equipment ले रहे हैं वो आज क्यों ले रहे हैं, अगर आज लड़ाई हो जाती तो उनका क्या फायदा। मुझे लगता है लड़ाई जो है वो तो शायद ही होगी जो बड़े तौर पे हम बात करते हैं। और सेकंड चीज़ है कि अगर आज लड़ाई करनी है तो क्या व्हाई शुड वी फाइट इन Ladakh? When China has put the entire might in Ladakh, why should we fight in Ladakh? There are other places other than Galwan, Depsang, or your finger 1 to 8 at Pangong Lake. We don't need to fight there. We can just hold them. We can do other things at different places at time and place of our choosing. That, I mean, I don't have to specify what we can do, what we cannot do, because that is for the people in the higher chain, higher military management to think about and do. But things are not really going to end up with a war. But this kind of thing which is happening is going to happen for a very long time. It may end up right up to winter. Winters में ना वो sustain कर पाएंगे ना हम कर पाएंगे. So there might be a bit of a de-escalation or moving from the ground that they are occupying to here. आप मिलिट्री को आइसोलेशन में अगर लोगे तो वो ठीक नहीं रहेगा. Military being a superpower cannot be taken as isolation. For the simple reason that to sustain a military which is a superpower requires an economy which is a superpower. So if you want to actually have a superpower kind of a military which is akin to say US, Israel. I am not talking about China. You must have realized I have not mentioned China. I have not mentioned Russia. Russia, of course, is a superpower because of the equipment that they have. But whether their military is a superpower now, which was there earlier, when the nuclear arsenal were there with them, you know, it has got all divided with the erstwhile USSR fragmenting. So what I'm trying to tell you here is that if you want a state-of-art military, please note state-of-art military, and you want to claim yourself to be a superpower, then you have to have your economy right. And with the present state, I don't think even China will be able to sustain what they have so far as the military is concerned, with the kind of effect that they have had in courtesy China virus, as we call it. I will not call it COVID-19. I am calling it as China virus or the Wuhan virus. And so that plus the moving out of a lot of industries from China, then the problem of Taiwan, the problem of Hong Kong, the problem in the South China Sea, the Russia not playing around. So all these things are going to create a problem. So I mean, coming back to our question, that is, when do we see ourselves as a superpower militarily? I think we are in the zone where we can tackle the 2.5 theater war as what we talk about. In any case, we don't have the ambition We don't have the ambition to go and attack Iraq like US did. We don't have an ambition of going and attacking Afghanistan like what the US did. But our 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 basic concept is that we want to keep our territorial integrity absolutely safe and sound, and not allow any of our adversaries to play around with our military or our economy. See, I'm not an expert in aviation. Let me be very honest with you. So I will not be able to answer as to what is the issue or what is lacking in Tejas is what is available with Sukhois or. But the fact of the matter is that we are in the process of procuring weapons and equipment, including the Tejas. Now, whether we are going to utilize Tejas in so far as high altitude area or against China in East Ladakh, I may not be able to answer this. It will be answered by a aviation expert. But अगर पिनाका देखा जाए या there have been a lot of indigenization so far as our artillery component is concerned. We are also indigenizing in so far as our unmanned armed vehicles, UAVs as you call them, or the drones. So ALH जो है advanced light helicopter, that is also a state of art thing. मतलब मैं यहाँ पे अगर आपसे बात कर रहा हूँ purely as an army representative, I am not discussing how Navy is getting indigenized or how the Air Force is getting indigenized as to what should be employed so far as the Air Force and the Navy is concerned. But yes, indigenization, आत्मनिर्भर का जो चल रही है इक्विपमेंट एंड एमिनेशन के बारे में, मैं आपको एक छोटा सा उदाहरण देना चाहता हूँ. मैं in 2009 I was commanding a राष्ट्रीय राइफल यूनिट in the state of J&K. तो उस टाइम पे जो हमारे एक मतलब राष्ट्रीय राइफल यूनिट्स में ज़्यादातर एंड इन मोस्ट केसेस पीपल यूज AK-47 AK राइफल्स. तो उसका जो एमिनेशन था वो भी हम इंपोर्ट करते थे. मैं 2009 की बात कर रहा हूँ. तो उसके बाद फिर इंडिजिनाइज्ड ammunition for AK-47 was developed and manufactured by Ordnance Factory खड़की. और उसके जो यूजर ट्रायल्स थे वो यूजर ट्रायल्स के लिए मेरी यूनिट को नॉमिनेट किया गया था. और आपको मतलब मुझे कहने में कोई मैं निसंदेह I mean I can say it with a lot of pride or I can say it without any that the ammunition was on par with the one which we were getting it from Bulgaria and the East Bloc nations. There were a few anomalies, but then that ammunition could be used by the RR troops against the terrorists or against the anti-national elements. So जो आज हमारी स्थिति है वो 2009 से तो काफ़ी हद तक हम लोग आगे जा चुके हैं. सेल्फ प्रोपेल्ड आर्टिलरी गन्स, they are being developed by Larsen and Toubro, they are being developed by our Bharat Forge. There is a lot of electronic equipment that is being developed by our own corporates, whether it is Tata's, L&T, Bharat Forge and Mahindra's. So उस हद तक और उस चीज़ में अगर आप देखा जाए तो we have come a long way. मैं जब यूनिट ज्वाइन किया था तब तो हम 7.62 mm राइफल लेके चलते थे। एक हमारे पास कार्बाइन हुआ करती थी जो आजकल इवन पुलिस इस्तेमाल नहीं करती। तो वहाँ से लेके आज जब हम when we are using the state of art equipment and most of it is indigenized, मतलब AK-47 is now going to be manufactured in India. In fact, it is going to be manufactured in Amethi. So कहने का मतलब ये है कि रास्ता कठिन है लेकिन उसको तय कर रहे हैं हम, और तय करते करते सफलता मिलती जा रही है। एंड आई गेस इन अ फ्यू इयर्स टाइम we will be more of exporters than being importers. ताइवान में जो एक्सरसाइज हुई थी और जो वहाँ के हालात है वो हालात यहाँ पे नहीं है। And there are certain protocols and there are certain agreements that are there between us and China. अगर मैं आपको आप चाहते हो तो मैं वो agreements बता सकता हूँ। So all these agreements that we have had with China do not allow us or them to even fire a single round, a single bullet at each other or within a specified within a specified limit of kilometers, that is to say 10 to 15 kilometers from the so-called LAC. लेकिन जैसे आपने देखा होगा कि जिस दिन हमारे डिफेंस मिनिस्टर पहुंचे थे, पैराड्रॉप हुआ था, सिक्योरिटी स्पेशल फोर्सेस ने कुछ एक्शन की थी, कुछ आर्म्स एंड इक्विपमेंट हमने उस टाइम पे दिखाया था। वहाँ पे हमने कुछ टैंक्स का मैन्यूअर दिखाया था, कुछ BMPs का मैन्यूअर दिखाया था। तो एक्सरसाइज करके कोई मतलब ज़्यादा हासिल होगा और वी माइट गेन समथिंग आउट ऑफ इट? आई डोंट थिंक सो, बिकॉज what the exercise is finally going to show is your capability. That capability we are already displaying it to them by not doing it as a whole, but in fixed pockets. And as I said, the situation in Taiwan and situation in Ladakh is an absolutely different situation. So expecting us to do the same thing would negate whatever we are trying to do as back channel thing with China. Please try and understand there are a lot of things which are happening in the back channel and the gray zone as we call it. So by doing what they have done in Taiwan or thing can actually spoil the whole game plan. This is my take on this. Bus, I can't give a message because so far I am concerned, every Indian I believe is a nationalist. Every Indian, if he is a nationalist, then he will do what is required to be done so far as our nation is concerned, and he should believe in the armed forces that whatever they are doing is what is going to be the best for the nation. I mean, armed forces are not whiling away their time sitting in places which are at 18,000-20,000 feet. They are doing their job, and I think they are doing it well. That is one. And second thing is, I always believe that every man should be, he should conduct himself in such a manner that every soldier should be proud that he is trying to protect this particular individual. After all, a soldier is doing his job is to protect not only the territorial integrity of the nation, they are also trying to protect the individuals or the citizens of India. So be a citizen worthy of the soldier protecting you. That is all I can say as a message. and request every citizen of India.